Now, I'll be completely honest, when Marvel first announced Phase 4, all the way back in 2019, I was one of the, few people out there who was adamant that the MCU could actually continue its stride after Endgame. Despite all the warning signs, I wasn't quite as aware as I am today of just what Disney and Hollywood were trying to do behind the scenes, and I was just really excited to get back on the MCU train for another long ride as we entered a brand new era in Phase 4. The hype was real, there were so many projects to look forward to, so many new characters and storylines, so much potential. At least, that's what I thought. Little did I know that what would come to fruition would be a disappointing, boring, and politically motivated mess of 17-something new projects, where only a single movie genuinely impressed me, and mind you, that one wasn't even made by their own studio. It's no wonder that Disney have lost over 4 million subscribers on their streaming service in the last 2 quarters, because while they live in their little bubble, where the creators are told on a daily basis that what they're doing is fantastic and not a waste of money, being treated like children who just lost a game of tag, but still got a prize for their efforts, the actual people consuming this pile of shit clearly think otherwise. But apparently we're all just a bunch of bigots whose criticisms are all sexist or racially motivated, and so shut up, stop questioning us.
Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Anyway, what once used to be a studio that racked in around $1 billion with each new release, completely destroying any other competition, managed to flush it all down the drain because feminism, I guess, and now here we are. Barely 3 projects into Phase 5, and it feels like the universe is going absolutely nowhere, and I genuinely can't think of a single project that I'm actually looking forward to. In other words, the universe is dead.
No way!
With all of this money going down the drain, the 7,000 workers that they laid off at Disney, and the studio firing Victoria Alonso, the thought could have been that this universe still had a glimpse of hope. That we could move past this stage, take genuine learning lessons from it, get rid of every storyline and character that's just irrelevant and no one cares about, stop introducing characters solely for the sake of diversity, and actually take the storytelling aspect, a little more seriously. But there's actually more at play here now, and if they theoretically actually started making their movies the best they could be, with no woke agenda infecting everything, which they won't, the time has come where, if people haven't lost interest in this universe already, they sure are about to. But why is this the case? What could possibly be occurring in the world of Hollywood that would cause such a thing to happen, where the once dominant force of cinema is now stuck fighting for their lives, and due to outside circumstances, can no longer hold people's attention? Well, there's quite a bit to talk about, and let's begin with something very prominent that's affecting not just the MCU, but the entire film and TV industry as a whole: the writer's strike. If you thought that Virus had a big impact on movie delays, well, you're about to enter a whole new ball game. There's currently a writer's strike going on in Hollywood, and because of this utter travesty of events, studios cannot continue their production, and so there's been major pushbacks on film and TV, and of course, this includes the MCU. That's right, just when you thought that these movies couldn't get delayed anymore, we're back where we started, and apart from Deadpool 3, which actually got pushed forward, everything else won't be coming out for another good few months at least. Why is this bad exactly? Well, just considering the quality of these Marvel projects as of late, I'm going to go on a whim and just say that what's to come isn't going to be all that good. Pair poor quality with constant delays and major gaps between each release, and you've got a formula for making people forget about this universe very, very quickly. Not to mention that each upcoming release looks about as interesting as watching paint dry. And speaking of the projects themselves, this takes us on to the next segment: what's to be released. The MCU had their next Avengers movie due to come out 3 years from now, being delayed a whole year due to the writer's strike. Wait, only 3 years from now? And this thing was meant to come out 2 years from now? Isn't there technically a bunch to still set up? Surely the upcoming slate isn't enough to set up all of these new characters. Who actually cares about any of this anyway? Deadpool and Daredevil are going to be just PG and just a mess. From what we've seen already, these aren't going to be very good. I don't think a single living soul gives an ounce of a shit about these guys. I guess this might be okay, I don't know. Wait, Blade is still happening? Hold on, what about all the unannounced ones that have already been set up, like a sequel to Shang-Chi or Eternals? Or a season 2 to Moon Knight or She-Hulk? Actually, you can forget about that one. What about Doctor Strange 3 and Spider-Man 4? Or the Wonder Man show that's apparently another project that we're going to show into an already stacked universe? Aren't they doing a show about Wakanda now? Shit, Fantastic Four need to be set up too. Armor Wars. So is Kate Bishop replacing Hawkeye now? Or isn't Thor 5 also a thing? Wait, what about Ant-Man since he caused all of this? Do we even see Kang again before the Avengers movie? Oh, and don't worry, we'll talk more about him later. If they're somehow going to stuff all of this across 3 years, that only means one thing. Either they do a bunch of these in between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which according to their schedule, probably won't happen, or they sacrifice quality by a significant margin just for the sake of getting all these projects out, or they just put all of these guys straight into Avengers with no extra fleshing out of their personalities or powers, because fuck it, we don't have a plan and never did, but we can make it work, right? Or ultimately, they just act like most of this shit never happened, and work with the stuff that people actually care about. Yeah, fucking, like, that's gonna happen. They've pretty much put themselves in a situation where, according to my calculations of projects that are official, plus the ones that have been set up, and because there's apparently 2 projects that are coming out between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and since Spider-Man's technically a Sony property, there's apparently 19 projects or so still to be released by Marvel Studios before Kang Dynasty, across the span of just 3 years. Now, obviously there's actually no way this is going to happen, but from what came with Phase 4, this is just logically what they've set up for themselves. But you know, what's unfortunate is not just these 22-something movies and shows outside of the Avengers that are all meant to come to fruition, but the fact that the majority of these are just a waste of time and no one cares about. I can give you one name that I care about going forward, and that is Spider-Man. And he's technically not even a Marvel Studios property. I mean, evidently, Sony have done a much better job at explaining, you know, the multiverse and using the concept to create genuinely good stories, more than Marvel ever did. And if anything, I'm actually more invested into their cinematic universe now than I ever have been, and that's actually saying something, considering their limited projects, as well as, you know, something else. So now that we've explored 2 of the biggest reasons why the MCU has practically no chance of making a comeback anytime in the near future, and skipping over just the plain arrogance and delusion among the Disney creatives, let's get into part 3. Jonathan Majors. So, as you're probably aware at this point, our good old friend Johnny Boy has gone through quite a bit of drama as of late. Now, normally I don't care about this kind of stuff because an actor's job is to act, but I think it's fair to say that Marvel are in a bit of a sticky situation when it comes to their main antagonist of the entire saga going forward, who's just been hit with some major allegations. And since we all know how fair the justice system is towards men, and since innocent until proven guilty is something that's definitely always kept in mind, he's been fired from all of his upcoming projects, and inevitably he'll be fired from Marvel too. Yeah. Anyway, Marvel now doesn't have the one guy who was supposed to be the face of it all, and although it's kind of funny to see how the creatives just switch up really quickly on their opinions of him as soon as he's put in a bad light, they now have to worry about what to do with the main villain going forward. I mean, they can't exactly change up the storyline now, considering that the first Avengers movie in a saga will be called The Kang Dynasty, so the only real choice is that they have to recast the son of a bitch. I mean, it is the multiverse, so to just change the casting and explain it as some incursion variant multiverse time travel bullshit that no one really understands but just kind of accepts at this point will probably do the job. A lot of people online have expressed interest in seeing the actor who played the High Evolutionary taking on the role, and to be fair, he's not a terrible choice. And if we pass it off as just the High Evolutionary being a Kang variant or whatever, and just bring in another one, then I guess it works. Or they could just act like the Kang Dynasty was never the title to begin with, and just change it to fit their new storyline. But hey, they would never do that, right? Surely they had a plan from the start about how this whole story would come full circle to centre around Kang, and they knew each and every hero's place in the story, and how they would all contribute meaningfully to the bigger narrative, and how they will conclude them all in a satisfying crossover payoff that was worth a 7-year wait. Yeah, I don't think so. So, considering all of this, Marvel have just completely overwhelmed themselves with projects, in turn sacrificing, you know, greater quality, and have about 2 remaining characters that anyone's actually invested in. The MCU died with Endgame, and it's been a complete pile of garbage ever since, making content for content's sake, not realising that no one actually cares about any of these new stories, and pretending that your entire slate of Phase 4, which you've laid as the groundwork for your movies going forward, weren't motivated by identity politics. How these Avengers movies will turn out is beyond me, but all I know is that even if they somehow manage to balance all of these characters as well as they did in Infinity War, then it still won't work because no one just gives a shit about any of them to begin with, as they're all bland, cocky and uninteresting heroes who exist on the big screen because of Twitter mobs and not creativity. And unless they do the impossible and do a huge turnaround, cancelling every project that they can finally admit no one wants to see, and focusing on fewer meaningful and good stories in the lead up to this thing, and ultimately creating a pretty good Avengers movie, then there's no chance people are going to stick around. All I can say is, rest in peace Marvel, you had a good run. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, like, subscribe, all that jazz, don't force you though, of course, and I will see you in the next one very, very soon. Bye!